Hello ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to the Practical Beginner's Guide to Microsoft PowerPoint. In this tutorial you will learn how to create these awesome slides in PowerPoint step by step. Don't worry if you're just starting out your PowerPoint journey, I will show you how everything works. You will learn how to design slides, how to add animations, icons, slide transitions, editable charts and much more. So, let's go! Before we get started, I want to say huge thanks to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video and supporting One Skill channel. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for creators. Explore new skills, deepen existing passions, and get lost in creativity. You can learn many new skills such as animation, design, illustration, and many more. I have recently started a class on Skillshare called Productivity for Creatives – Build a System that Brings Out the Best by Thomas Frank. And right away I have picked up one awesome idea. And that is when you're starting some kind of creative project, writing a book, creating a song or anything else and feeling stuck because you have so many ideas, so many options, in such a case Thomas suggests introducing some kind of creative constraint. For example, if you are making a song, use just only 3 music tracks and 1 instrument. And right away you will know what to do next. So definitely check out this class if you would like to improve your creativity with productivity. By the way, Skillshare is curated specifically for learning, meaning there are no ads and they're always launching new premium classes, so you can stay focused and follow wherever your creativity takes you. The first 1000 of my subscribers to click the link in the video description will get 1 month free trial of Skillshare, so you can start exploring your creativity today. And now let's continue with the video. Alright, and here are all of the slides that we'll be creating. We have our performance slide with editable charts, we have our services slide with photo rings and icons, we have our values with a cutout person in the middle, and finally we have title slide with a full screen photo and a nice gradient. So what's special about this PowerPoint tutorial is that we will not be going through all of the buttons and what they do. We will jump straight into the action and you will learn all of the tools that you need along the way. PowerPoint version that I'm using is Microsoft 365 and in this tutorial I'm working on Windows. Feel free to follow this tutorial with any PowerPoint version that you have. And by the way, this tutorial is going to be pretty long and if you'd like to quickly jump to different parts of this video, you can use the timestamps in the video description. And since I'm still recording this video, here's an example of how timestamps look in my Matrix Code animation video. One last thing, you can follow all of the keyboard shortcuts that I'm using on the left side of the screen. Alright, I think we are ready, so let's open up a fresh blank new presentation. Let's go to File and click New. Here you basically have 2 options. You can use one of the pre-made templates provided by PowerPoint, or you can create your own design from scratch. Using a template is good when you want to create a presentation really fast and when you don't mind if someone else has a similar looking presentation. However, in this tutorial we will choose blank presentation and we will create our own awesome slide design. Alright, and here's the first beautiful fresh blank new slide. This is where all of the magic and creation happens. As you can see, PowerPoint has generated a couple of fields. You can insert some text here and on the left side we can see a preview of this first slide. So let's just try inserting some text. Let's just type in slide 1 into this top box. And here below, let's just type in awesome subtitle. And as you can see on the left side, this preview or this thumbnail immediately updates. That's awesome. To insert a new slide, just right click and choose new slide, or you can hit enter as many times as you wish. Alright, so let's go to slide number 2. Let's type in something here as well, slide 2. Alright, to exit the typing mode, you can just hit escape or you can just select any other object on your slide. Alright, let's go to slide number 3 and let's type in something right here as well. And after that we will play the presentation and check what kind of result do we have so far. So to play the presentation, you can click on this small button or you can go to slideshow and choose from beginning. Alright, so this is slide number 1. You can use your mouse to click and advance the slides, or you can use your keyboard arrows left and right to move through the slides. And as you can see, slide number 4 is absolutely empty because we haven't inserted any text. We have these two automated fields, but they will not be visible unless we type in some text into them. So if I would play the presentation from slide number 4, it is absolutely empty. So keep in mind that these automatic fields, they will not be visible unless you type in something. Alright, and if you'd like to rearrange your slides, you can just select them, drag them, and change the position. So let's bring slide number 2 to the position number 2. Okay. And now if you would like to delete any of the slides, for example multiple slides, so you can select slide number 2, hold down the shift key, select slide number 6, and now you can just right click and choose delete. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Okay, and now let me actually delete these two text boxes. Let's leave them empty. And once you open up a fresh blank new presentation, PowerPoint automatically generates these two fields, and actually you can go to layout and you can choose different combinations of these automatic fields. And for this tutorial, I would like you to start with a blank slide layout. So in case we will need some text, we will just go to Insert and use the text box tool to create some text. So I want you to feel in control of everything what's happening on the slide. So that's why we will be starting with a blank slide layout. And if you have a couple of PowerPoint presentations open at the same time, you can always go to View, switch windows, and switch between the presentations. So let's check once again how the first slide should look like. And as you can see on the first slide, we have this full screen photo with a color gradient. As well, we have a place for a logo, and we have two text boxes. Alright, so let's get back to our presentation. And before we continue, let's open up a few additional options here on the right side of the slide. So let's just right click on the slide and choose Format Background. So in the Format pane, we will see all of the options that we need to fill our shapes with colors. So that's super awesome. Next, let's go to Arrange and let's select Selection pane. So in the Selection pane, we will see all of the objects that exist on our slide. So for example, let's just insert a rectangle. And right away you can see there is a rectangle in our Selection pane, and if we would insert a text box, we will see that there's a text box as well. So it's really useful to see the full list of all of the objects that exist on your slide. And finally, let's go to Animations and let's open up Animation pane. This will be really useful when we will be adding animations a little bit later on in our tutorial. And now let me make sure that all of these panes have the same width. I just like when all of these panes have the same width. So as you can see, the zoom percentage is 80%. So let me make sure that we have the same 80% zoom for all of these panes on the right side. Looking good. Alright, and now let's check once again how the first slide should look like. As you can see, there is a full screen photo that we have to insert into our slide. So to insert a picture into a slide, we have to go to Insert and click on Pictures. Here we have a couple of options. We can insert directly from the computer or from the stock images. But let me show you the way I usually insert pictures into PowerPoint. Let's jump to unsplash.com, my favorite place for free, awesome photos. Let's just right click on the photo. Let's get back to PowerPoint and hit Ctrl-V to paste the photo. That's how easy it is. But as you can see, this photo does not cover the whole slide. If we would play this presentation right now, you can see we have these white gaps on the sides, which means that we have to increase the size of this photo. We can grab any of the corners and increase the size. But before that, we can crop our photo so that it has the same aspect ratio as our slide. And to quickly find out the aspect ratio of your slide, you can go to Design, Slide Size, and here you will see widescreen 16:9. Standard 4:3 was used in the old days. Alright, so the aspect ratio is 16:9. And now let's make sure that the picture is selected. Let's go to Picture Format, let's go to Crop, and let's click this little arrow below the crop button. And let's go to Aspect Ratio and let's choose 16:9. Let's click on the crop button again to apply the changes, and now our picture has the same aspect ratio as the slide. And now we can select those bubbles at the sides of the picture and drag this photo so that it covers the whole slide. That's awesome. We can play the presentation and check if the photo covers the whole slide. Everything is looking beautiful. And now we can continue with the next step. So let's check the final slide once again. And as you can see, we have this beautiful color gradient on top of the photo. And this is just a simple rectangle with a gradient fill. And as well, you can see that this photo is blurred a little bit, so I'll show you later on how we can add a little bit of blur to the photo. Let's get back to our slide. And now let's go to Insert, let's go to Shapes, and let's choose the Rectangle tool. Alright, so let's just draw a rectangle. Let's make sure that this rectangle covers the whole slide. You can grab the corners of the rectangle and drag those corners until the rectangle covers the whole slide. That's awesome. And currently, as you can see, this rectangle is filled with solid blue color. All shapes in PowerPoint have fills and lines. So this rectangle has a line as well, but it's very small, we can't see it. Let's make it orange and let me increase the width to 20 points. And now you can see that this rectangle has an orange line. But in this case, we don't need a line, so let's just choose no line. And now let's just go to Fill Options and let's choose Gradient Fill. Alright. And here we can see a gradient slider with 4 colors. So in this case, we need just 2 colors. So for these colors in the middle, we can just select them and drag them down to delete. Okay. So let's select the first color, let's go to more colors and let's pick any color that we want. For example, this purple, click OK. And now let's select the second gradient stop and once again, let's go to more colors, standard tab, and let's choose a second color that we want. For example, this hot pink, click OK, that's looking beautiful. And as well, we can change the direction of the gradient. So let's try this one, looking good as well. And as you remember, we have a photo just below this rectangle, and to see that photo, we have to add a little bit of transparency to both of these gradient stops. So for the purple color, let's try using 50%, looking good. And for the hot pink, let's insert 20%. With different transparency percentages, you can achieve different looks, so just experiment and see what you like. Alright, you're doing wonderful, so let's check what do we have to create next. Let's jump to the final presentation. And here on the first slide, you can see we have a sample logo and we have a couple of titles. And this sample logo is actually created in PowerPoint, so I think it will be a good exercise to create it step by step together. So let's go to Insert, Shapes, and let's look for an oval tool. And now just insert and drag an oval and make sure you're holding down the Shift key. This way you will maintain the proportions of this circle. And now let's set the fill of this circle to no fill. You can do it right here, or we can use this format pane that we have on the right side. Let's go to Fill and choose no fill. And this time we will need a line, so let's make sure we have a beautiful white line. For the width, we can leave it at 1 point, and for the dash type, let's try this square dot dash type. Looking beautiful. And now let's add some text inside of this circle. So to add some text into any shape, you can double click the shape, or you can just right click on the shape and choose Edit Text. And now let's just type in your logo. Okay, let's double click this first word. And as you can see, the font currently that we have is Calibri. So let me change the font. I'll be using Montserrat semi-bold. By the way, if you don't have this font installed in your computer, you can go to Google Fonts and you can download Montserrat. So in this tutorial, we'll be using Montserrat semi-bold and Montserrat regular. And if you would like to increase the size of your text, you could enter the exact size that you wish, or you can just click on this little button with letter A. And now as you can see, this word your doesn't fit into one line since we have increased its size. Let me show you how we can fix this issue. We can go to Text Options and let's go to Text Box tab. And here you will find margins. So margins are basically some space between the letter and the circle. So for all of the margins, let's just enter 0 and click enter for all of these fields. Now, as you can see, this first word, your, fits perfectly, right? And for the second word, logo, let's use Montserrat regular. So just a simple Montserrat. And for the font size, let's leave it at 18. Looking good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so the sample logo is completed. And now the question is how we can align it precisely to the center of the slide. So there are a couple of ways how we can do that. We can go to View and activate Guides. Guides will show us where is the center and middle of the slide. And now we can just select the logo and drag it until it snaps to the center of the slide. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And the next option is go to Align and just click on the button Align to Center. And now the logo sits perfectly in the center of the slide. Alright, now let's check what we have to create next. So for the first slide, we still have to create these two beautiful titles. So let's jump back to our slide and let me show you how we can insert these beautiful titles. Alright, so let's go to Insert and let's select the text box. And now if we click on the slide, PowerPoint thinks that we want to type in some text directly into rectangle, but actually we want to create a separate text box. So for this reason, I suggest just clicking somewhere outside of the slide, and now we can type in anything that we want, for example, presentation title, and after that we will be able to drag this text box into the slide. So this method is better when you want to have more control on how your text looks like on the slide. Of course, you can type in the text directly into the rectangle, but sometimes creating separate text boxes gives you more control. And for the presentation title text box, I'm using Montserrat semi-bold for the font and for the font size 44. Alright, now let's center align this text box. You can actually align the text inside of the text box itself. You can align it to the left, to the right, or to the center. Let's leave it at the center. And let's make sure that the text box itself is aligned to the center of the slide. So let's go to Align Options and let's choose Align to the Center. That's awesome. And by the way, if you would like to move your objects up and down in a straight line, you can just hold down the Shift key and your objects will be moving in a straight line. So that's a really useful shortcut. Alright. And one more awesome thing that you can do for your text box, you can add some space between the letters. So let's just use this lose option to add some space between the letters and to create a little bit different look for our title. Alright, and next we have to create this awesome subtitle. Okay, so the font is Montserrat Regular and the font size 20, so let's get back to our slide. And now we could repeat the steps. We could go to Insert Text Box and create a second text box, but since we have already created one text box, we can just duplicate it. So we can hit Ctrl-C, Ctrl-V to copy. And another quick way to make some copies, we can just select the first text box or any shape, hold down the Ctrl key and drag, and this way we will make a copy. Even more awesome way to make a quick copy is to hold down the Ctrl and Shift keys at the same time, and this way you will make a copy and drag it in a straight line. This is my favorite way to make some copies in PowerPoint. So for the second text box, let's make sure that we're using Montserrat Regular for the font, and for the font size, let's insert 20. Let me make sure that the font is set to Montserrat. That's good. As you can see, Montserrat Regular has this thinner look compared to the semi-bold. And let's just type in awesome subtitle. Alright, so we are pretty much finished with the first slide. We can turn off the guides. And one more thing that we have to do is to add a little bit of blur to this photo that we're using. Sometimes it's good to blur a photo if you want your text to stand out a little bit better. So in this case, I think the text is pretty much readable, but still we can add a little bit of blur. And sometimes it's really hard to access those objects or shapes that are behind other shapes. So in this case, as you can see, the photo is behind the rectangle. And in such cases, it's really useful to use the selection pane. Here we have this button, hide all, and now we can unhide only the picture that we need to edit. So that's really useful thing to keep in mind. And now we can select the photo and go to the Effects tab. Here it is. Let's go to the Effects tab, and here at the bottom we have Artistic Effects. And now we can expand this menu and look for Blur effect, alright? So you can use any radius that you wish. Let's type in 15, and that's looking awesome. Now we can get back to the selection pane and let's click on this button, Show All, and now all of the objects are visible once again. Alright, so the first slide is finally finished. I know it took some time, but that's because I'm trying to do my best explaining all of the steps. And I'm sure when you will be working with PowerPoint more and more, it will be faster and faster. Alright, so let's just hit enter and let's insert a second slide. Now let's check once again how the second slide should look like. So as you can see, we have a title, a subtitle, we have a cutout person in the middle. We have a couple of bubbles with icons and text boxes. We have a clickable button here at the bottom left corner, a logo, and a slide number. So as you can see, there's a lot going on the second slide. So let's jump back to our slides and let's start creating this slide number 2. And to save some time, we can copy this presentation title from the first slide and let's paste it onto the second slide. And it was white, so of course we have to change the color of the text. Let's make it black. And I think we can reduce the size of this title, so let's just use this small button to reduce the size to 32. And let's just change the title to our values or anything else that you want. Now let's hold down the Shift key and bring this text box upwards just like that. You can leave as much or as little space between the text box and the top edge of the slide. Just make sure that the position of your slide title stays consistent across the slides. This way it will look more professional. And now for the subtitle, let's choose a different color. Let's use dark gray. And let's type in anything that you wish. I'm just leaving subtitle. And now we can hold down the Shift key and bring this subtitle closer to the slide title. And you can probably see these small red lines when I'm dragging these text boxes around. So these lines are called smart guides. They show when two or more objects are in alignment. So you can activate them in grid and guides options if you would like to use the smart guides. Personally, I think they're really useful. Alright, so let's check what do we have to create next. And as I can see, we have this beautiful sample logo. So let's get back to our slides and let's actually insert a real logo. So this time I will go to Insert and go to Pictures and choose a picture from my computer. And let's find OneSkill logo. Here it is. And let's just click Insert. And now we can resize this logo. Just hold down the Shift key to maintain the proportions and drag one of the corners. And now let's position this logo at the top left corner of the slide. Of course, you can position your logo wherever you wish. I just think it looks really nice here at the top left corner of the slide. And let's say that you have a couple of slides, let's say 10 slides or 20 slides. So one way to insert your logo into the rest of the slides, of course, could be just using Ctrl+C and Ctrl+V to paste the logo to the rest of the slides. But let's say that you change your mind and you want the logo to be on the right side of your slide. So this means that you'll have to go through all of the slides and move the logo manually. And this is not ideal, so let me show you a better way how to insert a logo into multiple slides. So first, make sure that you position your logo where you want it to be. Let me adjust the positioning of the title and subtitle as well. And now let's select the logo and let's hit Ctrl+X to cut it. And now let's go to View and let's go to Slide Master. This is a special place where we can set global settings for our presentation. So let's just scroll up. And this first slide is our slide master. It's really special because whatever you place on the slide master will be visible on all of the slides of your presentation. So it's a really good place for the logo. So let's just hit Ctrl+V to paste the logo. And now the logo should be visible on all of the slides of our presentation. So let's close the slide master view and let's check how the slides look like in the normal view. Alright, so as you can see, the logo is visible, and when we create new slides, the logo is visible on all of the slides. That's awesome. And if we change our mind, let's say we want the logo to be on the right side, we just have to jump to Slide Master view again. Let's scroll to the Slide Master, and let's just drag this logo to the right side. And now when we close the Slide Master view, the logo automatically updated its position to the right side. That's super awesome. And let me actually bring the logo back to the left side. I think it's looking better right there. And with the Slide Master, it's really easy to do that. Okay, and now we can delete the rest of the slides and let's continue working on slide number 2. And now let me show you how we can insert a slide number. So let's just go to Insert and let's click on this button, Slide Number. Here we have this checkbox, Slide Number, so let's just mark it and let's click Apply. And as you can see, we get this little slide number at the bottom right of the slide. So let me show you how we can make this slide number look a little bit more interesting. As you can see, in the final slides, the slide number has this gradient rectangle. So let me show you how we can create the same effect in our slide. And once again, we'll have to jump into the Slide Master. So let's go to View and let's click Slide Master. And now let's scroll up and select the top slide, which is the Slide Master. And here at the bottom, you will see this special field which is responsible for the slide numbers. As you can see, here is a special symbol which represents the slide number. So let's resize this slide number field. Let's make it smaller. It doesn't have to be so wide. And next, let's insert a rectangle. So let's just go to Insert Shapes and let's find a rectangle. Make sure you're holding down the Shift key. This way you will draw a perfect rectangle. That's awesome. And now we can go to Format Pane, Fill Options, and let's choose No Line first of all. And for the fill, let's choose Gradient Fill. And as you can see, PowerPoint remembers our last gradient that we have created. And as you remember, we have added some transparency. So this time, let's remove the transparency from both of the colors. And now let's select this beautiful rectangle and let's drag it to the bottom right corner of the slide, just like that. And now let's select the slide number field and let's drag it over the rectangle. But as you can see, it goes behind the rectangle. So for this reason, let's bring the slide number to front. And now we will be able to drag it over the rectangle. So just keep in mind that new objects always go on top of the old objects in PowerPoint. So in case you want to bring the old object on top, you have to bring it to front. So for the slide number, let's use Montserrat semi-bold, font size 12, and for the color, let's use white. Alright, and now let's select the rectangle, hold down the Shift key, select the slide number field, and now let's make sure that both of these guys are aligned to the center and to the middle. Alright, and now everything should be looking beautiful. Alright, so let's get back to the normal view and let's check out our beautiful slide number. Alright, here it is, and as you can see, the slide number is slightly aligned to the right side. I would like it to be centered, so let me quickly jump back to the Slide Master view. Let's go to the Slide Master, let's select the slide number field and let's check the alignment of the text. Let's go to Home, and yes, it was set to the right, so let's set it to center. And now everything should be perfect, so let's get back to normal view. And yes, the slide number is looking beautiful, it's centered. So now let's just hit enter a couple of times to insert a few more slides. As you can see, we have the rectangles, but the slide numbers are missing. So let's go to Insert Slide Number. Let's make sure we have the checkbox and let's click Apply to All. Now the slide number should be visible on all of the slides. Let's insert a few more slides, and as you can see, the slide number is automatically updated. That's awesome. So let's delete the rest of the slides and let's continue working on our beautiful slide number 2. We have the logo, we have the titles, we have the slide number, and let's check what do we have to create next. So let me show you how we can create this cutout person and those icon bubbles. Alright, so let's get back to our slide, and now we'll have to find a photo that we could use. So of course you can go to Insert Pictures, but let's just go directly to unsplash.com. Link is in the video description if you would like to use the same photo. And now let's just hit Ctrl V to paste the photo into our slide. And now let me show you how we can remove the background. So let's just go to Picture Format and click on Remove Background. So as you can see, PowerPoint has made a pretty good selection. However, those legs at the bottom are missing. So we can use this tool, Mark Areas to Keep. And let's draw here at the bottom and tell PowerPoint that we need, the bottom of this picture as well. And as well, let's select a couple of places on the camera, just like that. And if you'd like to remove any of the areas, you can do that as well. For example, this place between the camera and the sweatshirt. So let's just select this tool, Mark Areas to Remove, and let's just select that area. All right. And once you're happy, let's just click on Keep Changes and the background will be automatically and magically removed. That's awesome. And I think we can crop the bottom of this picture as well. So let's just select the picture. Let's go to the Crop tool and let's use this black handle. Let's drag it upwards and let's crop the bottom of this picture just like that. And now let's just align this picture to the bottom of the slide. Looking good. We can activate the slide guides to see where is the center of the slide. And now we can fine tune the position of this picture. We can resize this picture, we can move it right and left. And I think it looks awesome the way it is. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, next let me show you how you can create those circles with icons. So let's go to Insert, Shapes, and let's look for this tool called Oval. Alright, so hold down the Shift key to draw a perfect oval or circle. And for the height and width, if you're wondering, I'm using 2.3 centimeters. Of course, you can use any size that you wish. Okay, so for the line, let's use no line. And for the fill, let's choose gradient fill. And as you can see, PowerPoint still remembers our awesome gradient that we have created. Alright, so now let's insert an icon. So let's go to Insert, and here we have this icon tab. And in case you don't have an icon tab in your PowerPoint version, you can go to websites such as icons8.com, and here you will find a bunch of free awesome icons. And make sure that you're choosing SVG format, and in case your PowerPoint version doesn't support SVG, you might need to convert SVG to EMF first. And you can create all of the conversions that you need on websites such as Cloud Convert. And in my case, I'll just use the icon tab to make it faster. So let's just type in anything, for example, a bulb. And here we have a couple of bulb icons. Let's click Insert. And here we get this bulb icon. So let's just move it to the side so that we can see it. And let's resize it a little bit so that it fits inside of our gradient circle. And of course, we can change the color of the icon. Let's just go to Graphic Fill and let's choose white. And what's awesome about the icons provided by PowerPoint is that you can quickly change these icons to other icons. So that's really awesome. So let's stay with the bulb icon. And let's make sure that the circle and the icon are aligned to the center and to the middle. That's awesome. Alright, and now let's talk a little bit about grouping shapes in PowerPoint. So let's make sure that we select the circle and the icon. And now let's right click and choose group, or just hit Ctrl G. So grouping two or more objects into one group makes it very easy to move them around the slide. So that's super awesome. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so let's jump to the final slides and let's see what do we have to create next. And as you can see, we have to create a couple of smaller text boxes. So let's jump back to our slide and I'll show you how we can quickly do that. So we can actually reuse our title and subtitle, but currently, as you can see, we cannot select the title because the picture is on top. So we can go to Selection Pane, and now let's select the picture and let's drag it to the bottom of the list. And now we should be able to select the title. That's awesome. Alright, so let's just copy the title, Ctrl C and Ctrl V, and let's drag it here to the left side. Alright, so let's make sure it's aligned to the right side. And let's make the text a little bit smaller. Let's make sure that we select all of the text, hit Ctrl A to select, and let's type in 16. Alright, that's looking good. And now we can type in anything that we want. I'll just type in info. And let me reduce the width of this text box. It doesn't have to be so wide, so let's just reduce the width. And let's bring it here on the left side of this circle with an icon. Alright, and now we can just use the shortcut Ctrl Shift to make a quick copy. And now let's create one more smaller text box. And this time let's use a different font color just for fun. And let's set the letter spacing to normal. Alright, and let's reduce the font size for this second text box to 12. And now let me quickly copy this text and let's just paste it to our slide to save some time. Let's select everything and let's paste in the new text. And now let me adjust the position of this second text box. Alright. And for this first text box, I think I will set the letter spacing to normal. I think it looks awesome this way as well. And now let's make sure that we select both of the text boxes and align them to the right side. That's beautiful. Alright, so a few more adjustments. And by the way, if you'd like to adjust the line spacing of your text box, so just right click your text box and go to Paragraph. And here at the bottom you will see line spacing options, so now it's set to single. Let's try 1.5 lines. As you can see, the spacing got wider. And this time let's go to Paragraph once again. And this time let's try multiple. And let's type in 0.8. And now as you can see, these lines are closer together, and I think this way it looks even more awesome. Okay, so now we're finally finished with these two text boxes and this circle and this icon. So now we can group all of these guys into one group. Okay, and now we can use the shortcut Ctrl Shift to make some quick copies. So let's make sure we have 3 groups in total. And now let me show you how we can make those gaps between these groups equal. So let's go to Align Options and let's choose Distribute Vertically. And this way we have made those gaps between these groups equal. That's awesome and really useful. And now let me quickly change some of the icons, and that's really easy to do if you are using icons provided by PowerPoint. Once you select the icon, you'll get this small button and you can quickly change that icon to any other icon that you wish. But when I insert a new icon, that new icon moves a little bit to the left side, but that's not a big problem. I just select that new icon, select circle, go to Align Options and choose Align to the center and Align to the middle. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, next let me show you how we can create more of these beautiful gradients. So one awesome website to find some inspiration for gradients is colors.co, and you can directly copy the hex codes of these gradients. So let's just copy one of the hex codes. Now let's get back to PowerPoint. Let's select this second circle. Let's select the first color in our gradient. Let's go to more colors. Let's go to custom tab. And here we have this hex code field. So let's just paste in that hex code from the colors.co. Click OK. Alright, now let's select the second color, and once again let's open up the hex field. Here it is. Let's get back to the Colors.co website, copy the second hex code, let's get back to PowerPoint and let's paste the hex code once again for the second color stop. Click OK. And now we get this beautiful gradient. Alright, so let me repeat the same steps for the third bubble, and this time I'll be using these beautiful blue colors. Alright, and now we have three beautiful groups of icons, bubbles, and text boxes. So let's use Ctrl and Shift key shortcut to drag a copy to the right side of the slide. That's awesome. And now we can ungroup these groups by right-clicking and choosing Ungroup, or just clicking Ctrl Shift G shortcut. That's awesome. And now for these text boxes, let's align them to the left side. We can go to Align Options and align them to the left as well. Alright, and let's move these text boxes to the right side of the slide. Alright, so next let me show you how we can position these bubbles on the left side and on the right side so that there is equal distance to the slide center. So let's make sure that the slide guides are activated, and now let's go to this center guide. Let's right click and click Add New Vertical Guide. So now let's select this new vertical guide, and now let's drag it to the left side until it touches these circles on the left side. And as you can see, the number is 7.4. So let's add one more vertical guide and let's drag it to the right side until we see this number 7.4. And now we can select these three circles on the right side and adjust their position so that they're touching this vertical guide on the right side. And now all of the circles on the left side and on the right side have equal distance to the center. That's awesome. Alright, and now let's align these text boxes as well. So let's move the left vertical guide to position 10.2 so that it touches these text boxes. Alright, and let's do the same for this vertical guide on the right side, 10.2. Alright, and now let's select all of the text boxes on the right side and let's bring them closer to this vertical guide on the right side. Alright, and now everything is perfectly aligned. We can delete these additional guides and we can turn off the center guides. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are pretty much finished with the second slide. We still have to create a clickable button at the bottom left corner of the slide. Alright, so let's jump to the final slides and let's see how this button looks like. We'll have to use a rounded rectangle to create this button. And before we jump to that button, let's make sure that we save our PowerPoint presentation so that we don't lose all of our work. Alright, so this is the button we'll be creating. And what's awesome about this button is that you can actually click it and you can jump anywhere that you wish. Depends on the link that you insert into this button. Alright, so let's jump back to our beautiful presentation and let's go to Insert Shapes and let's look for a rounded rectangle tool. Here it is, and now let's just draw a rounded rectangle. You can use this yellow point to adjust the roundness. Let's make it fully rounded. Alright. So for the line, let's use no line, and for the fill, let's choose gradient fill. And as you can see, PowerPoint has applied the last gradient that we have created, and let's say we'd like to use this purple gradient. So let's make sure that this purple circle is selected, then select Format Painter and then click on the rounded rectangle. And this way we can quickly paste the style from any object to any other object. You can as well use a shortcut, select the first shape, hit Ctrl-Shift-C to copy the style, select the second shape and hit Ctrl-Shift-V to paste the style. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Now let's double click this rounded rectangle and let's type in the name of the website, for example, oneskill.com. Alright, and now we can format this button the way we want. So for the font, I'm using Montserrat, and for the font size, I'm using 9. And if you wish, you can resize your button easily. Just grab one of those bubbles and resize your rounded rectangle. Alright. And if you would like to align the logo and this rounded button, you can just bring this button closer to the logo. And once you're happy, let's just bring this button back to the bottom of the slide, just like that. And if you would like to be super precise, you could activate slide guides and insert additional guides that will help you to align your button perfectly with respect to the logo and with respect to the slide number. Alright, so now the button sits in the perfect place, and now we have to actually insert a link. So first of all, let's just copy the link of the website that we would like to insert. Now let's make sure that we have selected our rounded rectangle. Let's go to Insert, choose Link. And now let's just paste in the URL, the address of the website. Let's click OK. Alright. And now let's test out if this button is working. So let's play the presentation. And as you can see, we can click this button and we jump to OneSkill website. Super duper awesome. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, and now we're finally finished with slide number 2. We will still have to add some animations later on. And now we can duplicate slide number 2. You can just hit Ctrl-D to duplicate, or you can just right-click and choose Duplicate, alright? So we will reuse some of the things that we have already created. Alright, and for the slide number 3, we will have to create these photo rings with some awesome icons inside of those rings. And as you can see, one of those bubbles have a gradient. So I'll show you how to do that. And let's actually delete slide number 3 and let's just hit enter to insert a new slide. And as you can see, PowerPoint automatically adds our logo, the slide number. But as you can see, this rounded button is missing because we have to cut it and paste it into the slide master if we want it to appear on all of the slides. So let's just scroll to the top and let's paste in this beautiful button. And now this button should be visible on all of new slides. That's super duper awesome. And by the way, we could insert slide title and subtitle into the slide master as well, so that they appear on all of the slides. For that, we would have to insert special text placeholders, but that is a more advanced topic and you can learn all about that in my Skillshare class on how to create modern PowerPoint templates. And for now, let's just do it the easy way and let's copy these guys from slide number 2 and let's paste them right here. And now let's change the slide title. Let's type in our services or anything else that you wish. And let's ungroup these guys. You can hit Ctrl-Shift-G to ungroup. That's awesome. And now let's bring these text boxes somewhere right here. Let's align them to the left side. Alright. And for this first text box, let's increase the font size a little bit, just like that. And we can always jump to the final slides and check what do we have to do next. I can see there is a little bit of letter spacing applied to this info text box, so we can do that as well. Let's jump back to our slide, select this beautiful text box, let's go to Home, and for the letter spacing, let's choose Loose. That's awesome. Alright, so let's bring this bubble just below, and now we will have to insert 4 circles with photos. So first of all, we can just draw a nice circle, hold down the Shift key to maintain the proportions, and for the height and width, I'm using 6 centimeters. Feel free to use any values that you wish. And now let me quickly make 3 more copies just to see if all of these bubbles fit into one slide. Alright, everything is looking good, and now let's continue working on this circle. So now we have to insert a picture inside of this circle. So one way to do that, we could go to Fill and choose Picture. But let me show you another way, which I believe is more flexible. Let's just copy this beautiful photo from unsplash.com and let's just paste it to our slide. And now let's make sure that we send this photo to back. As you can see, it is at the bottom of the selection pane. That's good. And now let's resize this photo a little bit. And let's just drag it below this blue circle. Now let's make sure we select the photo, hold down the Shift key, select the circle. Now let's go to Shape Format, Merge Shapes, and choose Intersect. And this way we have placed that photo inside of the circle. That's awesome. And now we can go to Crop Tool and we can always adjust how this photo looks inside of the circle. We can zoom in, we can zoom out, we have a lot of flexibility. That's awesome. Alright, so let's click on the crop button to apply the changes. That's good. And now let's select this gradient circle with the icon and let's bring it on top of this photo. Now let's make sure we select all of these guys and align them to the center and to the middle so that everything is aligned. And now let's ungroup this circle with the icon. And now let's make this gradient circle a little bit bigger. So if you would just hold down the Shift key and increase the size, as you can see, this circle is growing to the right side. So a better solution in this case would be holding down the Control and Shift key, and this way you can grow your circle from the center. That's awesome. So in the same way we can resize this beautiful icon as well. And let me actually change the style of this icon. So let's just go to all icons and let's type in bulb again. And here, as you can see, we have this icon with thinner lines. So let's try this one. I think it looks minimalistic. It looks awesome. So let's use this one. And let's make a few more little adjustments to the size of our icon and our circle. Let's make sure that we like what we see. So always feel free to adjust and readjust until you get what you like. And now let's add a color gradient on top of our photo, and for that purpose we can reuse our gradient circle. Let's just check what was the size of the photo. It was 6 by 6, so let's add the same height and width for this gradient circle as well. Let's make sure that we add some transparency to both of these gradient stops. Let's add 50% transparency. That's awesome. And now we can bring this semi-transparent color gradient circle on top of the photo. But before doing that, let's make sure that we select the icon and we select this first gradient circle and we bring these guys to front. We can jump to selection pane and see if everything is the way we want. Everything is looking awesome. And now we can bring this semi-transparent circle on top of the photo. We can use the align menu to align to the left and to the top. Now everything is perfect. Alright, so now we can select all of these guys and let's hit Ctrl G to group them into one beautiful group. And now let's make a quick copy. Let's drag it to the right. And for this second copy, let's ungroup everything. We can delete this color gradient and let's make this icon black. And for this circle in the middle, let's fill it with simple, beautiful white color. That's awesome. And of course, feel free to insert any icon that you wish. This time, let's try searching for camera. And let's select the same style icon with those thin lines. Alright, looking good. Okay, so now we can group these guys into one group. And now let's make 2 more copies. Let's hold down Ctrl-Shift key to drag those copies in a straight line. And now let's select all of these beautiful groups and let's make sure that they have equal gaps between them. So let's go to Align and choose Distribute Horizontally. Alright, now all of the gaps are equal. And now to align all of these icons to the middle of the slide, we can group them into one big group and align them to the center. That's awesome. And if we would activate the slide guides, as you can see, all of these photo rings are sitting perfectly in the center. That's awesome. Now we can ungroup them into separate groups. Let's deactivate the slide guides and let me quickly change those icons. And now let me show you how we can insert a new photo inside of those photo rings. So let's just copy a new photo from unsplash.com, right click, let's choose change picture and select from clipboard. And this is how easy it is to change photos inside of shapes in PowerPoint. And if you wish, you can always select your photo and go to the crop tool and adjust how your photo looks inside of the shape. You can reposition the photo, zoom in, zoom out, and once you're happy, click on the crop again. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so I think we're pretty much finished with slide number 3. However, there's one more important step waiting for this slide number 3. Let's jump to my final slides once again. As you can see, I have duplicated slide number 3 a couple of times and I have changed the position of this color gradient. And with the help of the slide transition, we will make this kind of moving gradient effect. So let me show you how everything works. Let's just duplicate slide number 3. And on slide number 4, first of all, let's just ungroup all of these groups so that we can access all of these separate shapes. Now let's just move this gradient to the right side. Let's just make sure that this second photo is sent to back so that we can, bring this color gradient on top. Once again, we can use the align menu to align all of these shapes. Now let me just copy the style from this first bubble and let's paste it to the second bubble. And of course, let's change the icon color to white. And now for this first circle, let's make it white and let's change the icon color to black. Alright. So now we have two almost identical slides, however, with different gradient bubble position. And as you can see, once we're moving between the slides back and forth, this bubble is jumping. So that's awesome. And if you'd like to create or to make this effect a little bit more subtle, you could use slide transitions. So let's just select all of the slides and let's click on the fade slide transition. And now let's check out this presentation from the first slide. And as you can see, once we're moving through the slides, we're getting this gradual fade transition. That looks awesome. So now let me duplicate slide number 4 and adjust the position of these color gradients in the rest of the slides. I'll meet you in a second. Alright, so the slides are ready and now let's check them out on the full screen. And as you can see, once we're moving from one slide to another, we're getting this beautiful fade effect. This color overlay gradually jumps from one photo to another. That's awesome. And if you would like to change the speed of your slide transitions, you can do that by going to transitions and changing the duration of your slide transition. So currently we have 0.7 seconds for our fade transitions. So for these last 3 slides, let's try using 0.4 second and let's check it out how it looks like. And as you can see now, this color gradient is moving a little bit faster between the slides. That's awesome. Pick any duration that you like. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so finally the Our Services slides are ready. And now we can jump to the next slide. So let me check what is the next slide. And in the last slide, we will have to insert a couple of awesome editable charts. So let me show you how this slide looks with animations. Once we're finished with the slide design, we will add animations to all of the slides in our presentation. So stay tuned for that. And now let's jump back to our slide and let's start creating these beautiful charts. Alright, and now we can duplicate the last slide. Let's just delete these photo rings. We will not be needing them in this slide. And now let me quickly update the slide title. Let's just type in our performance. And now we can start looking for those beautiful charts. So let's go to Insert. And here we have this button chart. So let's just click it. And first let's choose this simple line chart. Let's click OK. And as you can see, PowerPoint has inserted a fresh new chart with some random data. As you can see, we have 3 lines in our chart, and I think 2 lines will be enough. So we can delete series 3 so that we have only 2 lines. And to save some time, we can jump to my previously created charts and let's just copy the data from those charts. So let's just right click and choose Edit Data. And now let's make sure that we select all of the cells and hit Ctrl C to copy. Alright, now let's get back to our slide. Let's right click on the chart. Let's go to Edit Data. Let's make sure that we select all of the current data and hit Ctrl V to replace the data with data from my previous slide. That's awesome. And now we can resize this chart as we can resize all of the shapes in PowerPoint. And here we have this little plus symbol. This is like a little selection pane. You can hide any of the objects that you wish. For example, we can hide the chart title and the grid lines and make this chart a little bit more minimalistic. And of course, you can select any of those text boxes and change the font and the font size. Alright, so now let me show you how you can make your lines smooth. So let's just select one of those lines. And now let's go to Fill tab. And here at the bottom, we have this option, Smooth Line. So let's just click it. And as you can see, the sharp line becomes smooth. That's awesome. And as well, we can change the line color. And now let's make the other line smooth as well. Alright, so let's take a look at the final slides once again. As you can see, I have mixed up the colors of these lines, so we can fix that, no problem. And as well, we have this little blue shadow behind the chart, so we will do that as well. So first, let me fix the colors. So for this line, let's choose blue line color. That's awesome. And for the second line, let's choose purple. All right. And next, let me show you how we can add a little bit of shadow below these lines. So let's go to the Effect tab, let's go to Shadows, and let's choose this preset called Offset Bottom. That's awesome. Now for the color, let's use the same purple color. For the transparency, let's use 0%. For the blur, let's type in 15 points. And for the distance, let's use 6 points. Alright, and now let's repeat it for the second line. That's awesome. So now let me show you how we can add that subtle blue shadow just behind the chart. And for that, first we need to insert a rounded rectangle. Alright, so let's just find that rounded rectangle and let's make sure that it covers the whole chart. Alright, let's fill it with white color and let's send it behind the chart, just like that. And as you already know, you can use this little yellow point to adjust the roundness of your rounded rectangle. And now let's make sure that there is no line, so that we have only white fill. And now let's go to Effects, Shadows, and let's choose this preset called Bottom Right. And now for the color, let's use the same blue color, that's good. For the transparency, let's use 90%. For the blur, let's insert 35 points. And for the distance, let's use 20 points. Alright, and now we have this beautiful subtle blue shadow just below our first chart. That's awesome. And now we can actually duplicate this rounded rectangle with this beautiful shadow, and let's drag a copy to the right side. We will use this one for our next chart. And now let me quickly change the color of the shadow to purple so that we have a little bit more variety. And as always, you can select anything that is on your slide and resize and reposition until everything looks the way you want it to look. Alright, so now let's insert a second chart. Let's go to Insert, Charts, and this time let's pick a bar chart. Alright, and let's click OK. And once again, PowerPoint inserts a randomly generated chart. We can resize it, we can deactivate any of the elements that we don't need, for example, chart title and grid lines. And as before, we can format all of the text boxes. Let's use Montserrat Regular and font size 10. And as we have done previously, let's copy the data for this chart from my previous chart. So let's just right click and select Edit Data. And now let's make sure that we select all of the cells and let's hit Ctrl+C to copy. That's awesome. And now let's get back to our slide. Let's right click, Edit Data. Now let's select all of the current cells and let's hit Ctrl+V to replace them with new data. That's awesome. Okay, and now let's resize our beautiful bar chart so that it fits nicely into the purple rounded rectangle. And now I will quickly recolor all of these bars with our favorite colors, blue, purple, and hot pink. And after that, I will add a subtle shadow to all of these bars, and the shadow settings I'm using are the following. So for the transparency, 0%, for the blur, 12 points, and for the distance, 3 points. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so the last slide is finished, and now we can jump to the first slide. And as you can see, the slide number is visible on the first slide, and if you'd like to hide it, you can go to slide number and uncheck slide number and click apply. So this way the slide number is not visible on the first slide, while on the rest of the slides we can see slide numbers, so that's awesome. Alright, and now let's check out the whole presentation from start. You have done a wonderful job, you have designed awesome slides. And now the last touch is adding animations, bringing these slides to life. So let me show you how we can animate those separate shapes on each of the slides. So let's jump to my previously created slides and let's check what kind of animations we'll have to create for the first slide. As you can see, the title and subtitle are flying from the sides and the logo is just fading in. And now we will be using the animation pane where all of the animation magic happens. You have a bunch of animation options here. You have durations, you have delays, you have the possibility to start with click, with previous, and so on. Don't worry, I'll show you and explain how everything works. So let's jump back to our presentation. Alright, so first of all, let's select this sample logo and let's go to animations. And let me first explain what kind of animations do we have in PowerPoint. So in PowerPoint you have three main groups of animations. You have entrance animations, you have emphasis animations, and you have exit animations. So entrance animations are responsible for how your shapes enter the slide. A text box could fly in or it could just gradually fade in. Next we have emphasis animations, and these are responsible for what happens to the shape once it's on the slide. So for example, you could make a photo spin around. So this would be an emphasis animation. And finally we have exit animations, which are responsible for how your shapes exit the slide. So they could fly away or they just could fade away slowly. So for our sample logo, let's choose this entrance animation called Fade. So here it is. Let's click on the fade animation and it will be applied to our sample logo. We can go to animation pane and we can preview how this animation looks like. And here in the duration field, we can type in the desired duration, for example 1 second. And as well, you can set how this animation is being started. So you can start it with a click, so it means you'll have to click with your mouse, or you can start it with a previous, which means it will start automatically. So as you can see now, this fade animation has played automatically. And if we set it on click, and if we check out this slide once again, as you can see, nothing happens until we click with our mouse. Okay, and now let's select the presentation title and let's add a fly-in animation to this title. Let's choose fly-in, and now you can decide on the fly-in direction. So let's pick from left. And for the duration, let's use 1 second. And let's make sure it is started with previous, which means once the logo animation will play, this title animation will play at the same time. So let's just check it out on the full screen. So once I click, the logo animation and the title animation are playing at the same time. That's awesome. And if you double click the animation in the animation pane, you will get additional options such as smooth start, smooth end, and bounce end. So let's just try inserting a little bit of smooth end. So smooth end basically creates this kind of slow down effect. And now let's make sure that the presentation title is selected, and now we can use the animation painter to quickly paste the same animation to the subtitle. And of course you can change the fly-in direction. Let's pick from right. And now let's check out all of the animations on slide number 1. So once I click, the sample logo fades in and those beautiful text boxes fly in from the sides. That's awesome. And now let's animate the second slide, and since we'll be using some fly-in animations on the second slide, we can grab this fly-in animation from the first slide. And let's make sure that this time we double click the animation painter. This way we'll be able to paste this fly-in animation multiple times. And now let's just paste this fly-in animation to all of the shapes that we wish. Let's just make sure that we group these little text boxes and these circles with icons on the right side into groups, because we want to animate groups as we have here on the left side. So let's make sure that we select these guys on the right side of the slide and group them into groups. So just select them with your mouse and hit Ctrl G to group. Alright, so once again, let's just select the title in the first slide and double click the animation painter to copy the fly-in animation. Now we can paste this animation to all of the objects on the second slide that we wish. And as you can see, once I'm pasting the animation pane is filling with beautiful animations. And now all that's left to do is to change the direction of the fly-in. So for example, for this person, we can choose from bottom. So these guys on the left side have the direction left, so that's good. Now let's select these guys on the right and let's set the direction to right. That's awesome. Alright, so now we can check out the animations. Let's play them from the start. And as you can see, these animations are happening pretty fast, and if you would like to slow down the speed, just increase the duration, for example, to 2 seconds. And as you can see, all of these animations are happening at the same time. And let's say you would like these bubbles to fly in only when you click with your mouse, so that's really easy to do. Let's just select all of those bubble animations and let's choose on click. And now as you can see, those bubbles are waiting for your command, and only once you click, those circles are coming in, so that's awesome. Okay, so once again, let's make sure that all of these animations start with previous, and as you can see now, all of these animations are happening at the same time. And let's say you would like for all of the animations to happen at the same time, but you would like to have slight delays between the animations. And this is actually what you can do in this field. So for this orange bubble on the left side, let's add a delay of 0.25 seconds. And for the next animation, let's add a delay of 0.5 seconds and so on. And this way all of these animations will be happening at the same time but with slight delays. And this way we will create this kind of waterfall animation effect. So let me finish adding those delays and let's check out the final result. So as you can see, all of these animations are happening at the same time but with slight delays. So if you would like to create this kind of effect, use delays. And next we have our services slides, and these slides are pretty much animated with the help of these slide transitions. I guess we could add additional animations to the first, our services slide, and add a zoom entrance animation to these beautiful photo rings. So let's do just that. So let's use half a second for the animation duration, and let's make sure that the first animation starts on click and the rest of the animation starts with previous. Let's just add a little bit of delay for the rest of the animations. Alright, and this is how the animated second slide looks like on the full screen. That's awesome. Okay, and now we can jump to the last slide, which is our performance slide with two beautiful charts. And I'll show you how we can animate those charts. So first of all, let's select this rounded rectangle with this beautiful blue shadow. And let's go to animations and let's add a fade animation to this rounded rectangle. Alright, so we can check it out how the animation looks like, looking good. Next, let's select this line chart and let's add a wipe animation to it. So let's click on wipe. Let's choose direction from left. And let's make sure that this line chart is animated after previous, which means that first the rounded rectangle will be animated and only then this line chart will be animated. And if you feel that this line chart is animated too fast, you can always increase the animation duration. So let's use 1 second. And as you can see right now, the whole line chart is animated at once. So if you'd like for the blue line to come up first, you can go to animation options and choose animate by series. And now the blue line will be animated first and only then the purple. That's awesome. Alright, and now we can use the animation painter and paste the same animations to the rounded rectangle and the chart on the right side. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we have finally finished creating and animating all of these slides. Now you have all of the knowledge needed to create and animate awesome slides in PowerPoint. Thank you for watching, stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll see you on my next video.